The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 3, best bets, the gold, the silver, and bronze. And that is the order that we will be going in, the gold, the silver, and bronze. You can jump to the time code if that's what you want to do. The Listeners League is over half full on DraftKings for this Sunday's main slate, so go reserve your spot right now. It is down in the description. Smash the like, enjoy the channel, enjoy the thumbnail for this week. It's one of my favorites of all time. Although people really seemed to think that you are Jim the Anvil Neidhart after last week.
I gotta be honest with you, when I was bigger and stuff like that, if I could just do like maybe get somebody, right, Rob, the old score days, to do my eyebrows just a little bit darker. Like his were light, but not as light as mine. But you're right. Like I look like I am a little bit like Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Him a little more meaner, I guess. But yeah, no, I used to get that all the time, even when I was a kid. When we did like tag team matches in a buddy's backyard, I was always Jim the Anvil. Always. That's just he's my guy.
I've just never seen you with the facial hair any different than what you have now.
Yeah.
Like either you're clean shaven or you're this. You've never had the pointy beard. But
I should get that, Rob?
Oh,
don't you think?
I
like,
think
like
that
in
would
one
be
of your metal bands, get a pointy beard and just and trick up my eyebrows. That'd be amazing.
That's what
I think would be a good look.
We can do that for the Halloween show. That's perfect.
You know what? Excellent. I gotta find a way to grow it like perfectly. His was always perfect, like a perfect triangle there, Pat. But yeah. Excellent.
You know what? I can find some money in the budget to get you a fake beard for that day.
Oh, okay. Sure. I'd like to try to do it naturally, but yeah, we can figure something out, I'm sure.
Well, we need to figure out our picks. Unless we're Rob. Rob is undefeated.
Rob's amazing.
To start the season. Rob is 6-0 on the gold, the silver, and bronze. He was 3-0 last week. That makes up for my 0-3, Cam. I feel like there was bad karma last week for me coming at you so hard that I even had San Francisco to cover the spread on the card. You know what happened with that one?
Oh, and it's funny that this new breed of gamblers, like, let's investigate the late field goal. It's like, guys, this stuff's been happening our whole lives. Like, just because you're new to gambling, right, Rob? Oh, player gets hurt, Chubb. I want my Chubb monies back from the props. No, try taking a golfer that takes one shot. Oh, my back. Like, how many times Henrik Stenson pulled out of a tournament, or Hideki when we had him, Pat? So this is new. I guess you could talk about point differential, whatever. But then again, Sean McVay answered the question. I don't give a shit. I don't know what the point spread is. I'm just kicking a fucking field goal. Like, relax. Like, he doesn't do anything to like change the game or anything. This is the way and the world we're living in right now. And teams are going to do that stuff. So deal with it. If you want to gamble, you're going to have bad beats. That's just life, right? Would you guys not agree? Like, let's stop complaining here. Like, I can complain because my picks are absolutely shit and I take horrible teams and I do it over and over again. That's on me. It's on nobody else. I don't blame Gambler for my shitty picks. Great work, by the way, Rob. Remember that year I was on fire. It was unbelievable. Like, just keep on riding it out, man. I've never seen it. It's 6-0, Pat. Like, he's carrying our team right now.
Yeah, he's making us respectable. Like, we're down money as a group here, but we'd be down a whole lot more if it wasn't for Rob.
It's true.
So Rob,
it adds like an extra element of pressure. Like, I don't want to listen. Obviously, anyone would have a 6-0, but now I'm looking through the board today for a much longer time than I previously would have, where I just showed up and did the show. Cause like you almost feel like that weight of trying to keep the perfect streak going. So I don't know. It's going to be some ugly teams this week.
How about
you? Not a big fan.
How about you just give me your picks? And those are my picks too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Done.
Because
agreed.
regression will hit, right? Like at some point, you know, it's bound to happen one way or another. But I mean, I'm not a big fan of my own card this week, which is honestly usually a good thing. A lot of times where I hate my picks, it ends up being really, really good for me. So that's going to be the case this week.
I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, Cam, the reason I came at you so hard last week was because I was very confident in my selections. None of them were right.
That's the thing I've learned too. The minute you love something, you're done. You almost want to go into the week scared. Rob's right. But guys, I'm looking at the board right now. This is Greek. I'm looking at like everything's blending in. Like I've never had like a hard time to, even when I found my like loser dogs, like I got Seattle last week, but you know, the Bears with that pick 6 at the end, I'm just like, why? Like, why? What are you doing to me? Like, I just look at these games and go, wow, is this a trap? Like everything I see, Pat, it's like I'm scared. Like I'm going on like a date with a supermodel. Like I'm nervous. Like I'm clammy. I'm sweaty. I don't know what to do. Just be yourself, but I can't be myself. I crack horrible jokes. It's over. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I just look at this board and like the NFL to me, like when I look at golf, I go, I like him him. He's a long shot. Like, I find football, it just messes up with your fucking mind. Like, it's putting me in orbit, as Rob says.
Yeah,
because so many people have opinions on the
Yes,
NFL.
that's the problem.
You're surrounded by it on a weekly basis, and like you might really like something, and then you might hear three people who are like the exact opposite of that, and they bring up good points. Because guess what? With an NFL game, you could argue both sides very easily, no matter what. Anyone can make a sound argument for both sides, and when that happens, you're like, oh, that's logical. That makes sense. Maybe I should get off this, or maybe I like this more, and whatever. That's the issue with the NFL is you're consumed by it, and like it's so easy to make an argument for either side of the game.
Well, the gold, silver, and bronze for me this week, Cam, at the French Open are going to be Alexander Bjork, Guido, and some Japanese guy whose name I can't pronounce.
Yeah, I hit Ryan. It's funny. Ryan Fox has had the best few weeks of his life after doing nothing for me and basically losing a bet to Pizzola. The guy's like on fire now. I'm going to go with actually, Pat. I'm looking at Billy Horschel. He's been playing well in Europe. I think he might be worth a look at a nice price. And who is my other guy? Connor Syme. The Wiley Scott that always seems to be lingering around the leaderboard. He's getting a nice price, and he seems to be there. Can't close, but maybe this week he can.
Yeah, every time the Connor Syme is in the mix, it's just a missed 2-foot putt.
It is.
Yeah, I had Hatton last week, so that was no fun.
Actually, it's funny. I had Fox and Rybread, so I was hoping for a playoff between the two, and Rye paid more, but it worked out all right. It was a very good week in golf. Had Tagala too. I wish golf picks, Pat, were like the NFL, because man, I'm sucking hard right now with my mineral picks.
Well, that's okay, because I feel like if I could have a winning season of NFL versus a winning season of golf, I feel like the golf is going to pay more.
Oh, big time. Golf 45, 50 to 1 bombs. Yeah, NFL is just it's. Hey, how about both, Pat? Can't we get greedy? Let's just turn the ship around, guys. Let's go. Smooth waters.
So before we get into it, once again, playing the DraftKings Listeners League, that link is down in the description. It's rake-free. There's over $50,000 of rake-free guaranteed money, so let's fill it up, which means we can get even more money in the pool for next week. But, Rob, Cust is through 2 weeks of Survivor. And, everyone is, because there really hasn't been a big blow-up game yet, unless you've really gone off the board. And now he said that he's probably 50-50 to, win Survivor, because he's through 2 weeks.
How many people in the pool? Is it 2?
No, he just said, it doesn't matter, to win Survivor. It's just, he's going to be perfect the rest of the season. He's not going to lose.
Yeah, that's how everybody thinks, right? Until they pick the 10-point favorite that ends up losing. Obviously, especially with Cust's track record of being let's call it out for what it is, one of the largest mushes on the entire planet. I mean, he's caused people to die, horses to die. Anything that could have gone bad in the past has gone bad. So for him to declare 50%, obviously that's a lot of confidence in himself. But I think the outside world, everyone else looking in, understands that the number is much closer to 0%. Should subtract 50 from that 50%.
Well,
how did the pizza air fryer go? Sorry, it's my girlfriend's birthday and we got torqued at the keg. So how did the air fryer pizza go? Didn't have a chance to watch a lot of shows this week. More betting and drinking.
Well, we were dubious about how good a mini pizza was going to be in an air fryer, because I feel like pizzas aren't probably the best thing. Paul did them and they were good. They cooked well.
You know what it is, Pat? I've learned a lot about the air fryer. The batter can't be thin. It doesn't work in air fryers. Anything thinner than tempura. I used egg rolls or whatever. It's just all they do is shred, and you have a bunch of cabbage in your air fryer. It sucks. There's nothing you can do. So when you look at the pastries, if it's thicker, it's it's beautiful. Just a little bit of oil, just a dollop in there. Make sure it circulates. Also, for meats, pork tenderloin is one of the best air fryer foods you can ever have. It has no fat in it, whatever. You can stuff it and it comes out so beautiful and moist. In the oven, it tends to dry it out. So that's what I've learned. You want your gold pick? Pastries too thin? Bad. Pastries thick? Win. Air fryer? Amazing. I cook everything in the air fryer, man. It's a lifesaver. It does work with shrimp. Butterflied shrimp are fine because the batter in it's better. Thinner batter equals the thing will just it'll shred and then you'll have nothing. That's my tip.
There you go. 1-0 on the gold picks this week for Cam.
Thank you.
Kawamura is the other guy, Cam, 100 to 1.
Kawamura played well, very well. Yeah, that guy's he's sharp. He's trending in the upward direction, Pat.
I really like that. I really like this course. I'm excited to.
Beautiful.
I just like this to begin the football season. I like having the Euro swing, and the PGA isn't really around I have to pay attention to. I can get up early. There's golf on. I can do my football research. It's fantastic.
Yep. I agree. or you just party all night and not go to bed and then sleep later. Two options with the European Tour, both solid.
Let's get to the gold picks to kick things off. Rob, you're 6-0. Let's start with you.
Okay. I swear this is not me trying to pick on Cam here, but I like the Carolina Panthers plus 6 at the Seattle Seahawks. Very good number here at DraftKings. A lot of the markets moved to 5.5, so you still get the 6 at DraftKings. But honestly, I'm not high on Carolina. I'm not. But they have faced two quality, sound defenses. And if you're Bryce Young, not looked great so far. The Seattle defense leaves a lot to be desired. The thing with Seattle and Detroit last week, they had the fluky, I don't want to say fluky, it was a pick 6, but they had the fluky Montgomery fumble. Detroit moved the ball up and down the field on the Seattle Seahawks. And now that's not to say that Carolina's offense is the same in any capacity, but this is a massive step down in class. So if you watch Carolina the first 2 weeks, you're like, oh, this team is horrible. The offense is horrible. And guess what? It's going to be bad by the end of the season, but it looks a lot worse now than it actually is based off of the quality of competition. So I like their opportunity to move it on Seattle. One other thing with the Seahawks last week, we didn't even notice that their tackles were missing in last week's game because Detroit couldn't get after the quarterback. Carolina does have good edge rushers. Brian Burns was all over it for the first 2 games of the year. They can pose a much bigger problem to these tackle positions for the Seattle Seahawks than the Detroit Lions did a week ago. I just think it's too many points. Honestly, if Carolina didn't even play a game on Monday, the spread in this game is probably 4. But because we saw them lay an egg at home to the New Orleans Saints, we get a spread of 6. And I just think these teams are closer than a spread of 6. So it's an ugly one. It's a numbers play. But I think the Panthers at plus 6 is a solid bet this week.
It's funny, too, because you'd think that Detroit would have been able to get pressure, but they lost 5 guys on defense throughout the course of the game. It was a bad scene for the old Lions.
It's the NFL, man. It's the NFL. Like, everyone thinks, oh, yeah, I got angles and stuff. We don't know shit. Like, it's just anything can happen any week. Teams can show up. Teams can not show up. I guess Balaclava Day in Detroit didn't work out too good, so they went out there. They're handing out face masks, like literally masks. Like what are you doing? Like you're a store owner there. They lost. I'm not sure, Rob. That might have been a worse thing that they lost. They put them on, and instead of being happy robbing people, they're angry robbing people, which could be more a danger to society. Good promo.
You can't even get the facial recognition afterwards either because all these guys are wearing masks. It's not like they could commit a crime afterwards and you're like, you can zoom in with the SCTV. Here's the face, release it to the public. Everyone's got a mask on.
And what kind of guy doesn't wear gloves when he's committing a crime? Like, what is this, 1983? That's the thing. It's no DNA, no prints.
I made a big mistake last week, and I thought that there were too many points.
In making picks?
In making picks. Well, yes, clearly, based on the record, I made a lot of mistakes. But
bet on Sunday.
But we did the when we went through the spread show, and I had my opinions on some of the games. Like I really liked Buffalo. I really liked Dallas to cover the spread.
I like Buffalo too.
It's just so many points. Like I don't want to have to lay 10 points here and 12 points here or whatever it might be. And then I just didn't take the teams that I thought were going to clobber the shitty teams, and that was just a big mistake. And I'm going to go to that, I think, later, not for my gold pick. I just think that this game is super close, and push is probably the most likely scenario in this game, but I'm taking Tennessee on the road +3 at Cleveland. I'm not really concerned about Nick Chubb being out. I don't think it's going to be that big of a factor for the Cleveland Browns because their offense sucks anyway. I don't really see how much worse it can get as long as Deshaun Watson continues to play how he's playing, and Tennessee are just going to keep games close. And their offense looked a little bit better last weekend, albeit against a worse defense than they're going to face this week, but I think they're going to be able to run the ball, slow down the clock, and the Browns look so disjointed on offense that winning by more than 3 is going to be super tough for them at any point this season, I think.
What do you think, Rob? That's a tough game.
So it's gotten bet down quite a bit to the 3 here. I lean Browns at this number. I was actually considering them for one of my picks. I do think Nick Chubb is actually going to be a substantial drop-off for them going over the court. Like people are like running backs don't matter. The analytics guys.
He does.
He does, especially when like they're signing Kareem Hunt off the street, basically at this point. Like that's not going to work out. The thing is, for this game plan, if you're facing Tennessee, running the ball doesn't work on Tennessee anyways. They have a very good run-stopping front seven. It's their secondary that's a complete disaster.
Well, were missing. That's bad news for Cleveland's offense because they can't pass.
They can get it out quick though, and here's the thing for me: you're Deshaun Watson. Like that sail has shit. Like that's done. That ship has sailed. It's no. I'm not a believer. but the Browns defense is so good. It's very, very good. They did not allow the Steelers a single snap within their own 30-yard line this past week. There was the big touchdown to Pickens where the two defenders ran into each other. Aside from that, nothing. Against Burrow in week 1, yes, Burrow hurt, whatever, but nothing. And if you just go back and look at Tennessee over the last couple of years, ever since A.J. Brown's been gone, Ryan Tannehill, anytime he has faced a good defense, disastrous performance. I'm talking like they top out at 14 points every time. And maybe that'll be enough
because Cleveland's
offense isn't good enough. It could be, but I just have zero faith. I have more faith in the Browns offense than I do the Titans in this game because I think that there's like one big advantage that one of these teams has, and it's that one of the teams has zero secondary. So I lean Cleveland, and I might use Cleveland today. I'm just not sure yet.
Ooh, we're going to go head-to-head on this one. The Titans were 6-2 ATS last year, Cam, on the road. I just think that they travel well. I don't think they have a huge home field advantage, and as we've seen anything from them through 2 games so far. Like, is the Cleveland defense substantially better, Rob, than the New Orleans defense?
Yes.
Really?
By a mile.
By a mile?
Cleveland generates a ton
Jim
of
Schwartz
pressure.
is such a huge coordinator. I don't think he deserves enough credit for like actually making great players even better. He comes up with multiple schemes. He's very smart. In-game adjustments are good, Pat. Like, you kind of look like him. You should be proud. Like, you're a handsomer version of Jim Schwartz. You might look like him when you're older, and that's a quality thing. I'll tell you, this guy's one of the best defensive minds in football, and the Cleveland defense, you talked about it. Garrett said, he's finding ways to get me free, their player. But let's remember one thing, too. I watch a lot of college football. Grant Delpit wasn't there last year. It's a huge addition to the team. Guy's one of the best players in college football at LSU. He's with that team now. So there's a lot of things, Pat. I'm with Rob. I think the Saints' defense is good. I think Cleveland's is better.
The Saints have 5 quarterback hurries this year. Like, they don't generate pressure. Like, if Cleveland is a top 3 pressure rate team or top 5 bona fide, like, period. Their defensive line is amazing. They will get after it. New Orleans has played, Carolina and Tennessee. Like, once they start playing they won't play real offenses. That's why we have their alternate season win totals over. But their defense just does not get after the quarterback. In a league where they face an actual decent passing team, they're going to have some problems down the road, whereas Cleveland can actually get after it.
I mean, you say that, but the Saints defense hasn't given up more than 20 points since week 9 last year.
Look at the teams they've played. I was just going to say this year they played some pretty weak offense.
Yeah, it's so far this year. I mean, it's primarily it's not exactly the same offense, but it's most of the same players. And in that time they played the Bucs with Brady, they played the 49ers, they played these Cleveland Browns and held them to 10 points over that time. So I just don't think that there's a huge gap between them. And if Tennessee can get to 14 points, that might be good enough to cover the spread.
It possibly could be. It possibly could be. I do not have a lot of faith in the Cleveland's offense. I just think that there's a very clear path to success. In week 1, Cleveland did a lot of this against the Bengals secondary. Now, granted, it wasn't a huge offensive output, but they scored 24 points in horrible weather. It was raining for most of not horrible, but bad weather. And it was Cincinnati has a bad secondary, put Deshaun Watson in shotgun and let him just kind of dink and dunk his way up the field. And I think Tennessee is the easiest team to do that on, because they have nobody playing in the secondary. They're down number 1 and 2 corners in Christian Fulton, Caleb Farley. Amani Hooker was out last week. You just can't miss that many. When you already don't have a good secondary and you start losing players, then it's a real problem. So I think that there's a very clear path to success for Cleveland, whereas for Tennessee, I think the likelihood that we get another Tannehill stinker is very high.
All right. I mean, they're 1-0 against the spread in Tannehill stinkers this year.
That is true. And also, they're 1,000,000-0 against the spread whenever Mike Vrabel's an underdog as well. Though, I don't know how they do it. That is part of it. Everyone talks about Mike Tomlin as a home dog. Look Mike Vrabel up as an underdog as well. His teams always keep the game close somehow.
So, good. I like this, Cam. Whenever we shit on your picks, they win. People need to shit on my picks. That's how I'm getting off the schneid here.
Yep, exactly. And you guys are not just going to take a shit. You're going to blow up the toilet bowl when I tell you who I'm taking as my gold pick. I'm going back to the Los Angeles Chargers. I need mental help. I'm dead serious. I don't know what's wrong with me. I looked at the board, and that was the only thing that popped in. I'm like, you're telling me the Vikings are favored by 1.5? I see on DraftKings it's 1 now. So I'm not going to beg for that extra hook like I do every week. I'd like to, but I will take what I'm given. I think the Chargers are a superior team. Everybody in the media is down on them. They don't find ways to close. I think Minnesota, despite them looking good against Philadelphia. Philadelphia had major injuries in this game. If they can't get it right, Staley's fired very soon. I will take the Chargers as my gold pick. I think they go into Minnesota and win this game by a touchdown. Plus, I will take them as a 1-point dog in this game. I wish I got 1.5. I will take 1. Thank you.
Even Jeff picked the Vikings. That's what he's doing now.
That's good.
That's perfect.
That means that's exactly why I want them then. And
Yes.
You know what? And guys, you can yell at me, whatever. I know I made horrible picks. I've been on them week 1 when they screwed it up. But I'm coming back to them. This is a game where I think they're a superior team to Minnesota. I know they're a train wreck. I know they're a bad luck team, but I can't get off this. I just can't get off it when I see them as even a one-point underdog at Minnesota. I'm taking the damn Lightning Bolts, and if they lose, Staley's going to be hitting the unemployment line pretty soon.
I think they're too cheap to fire Staley.
I agree.
Yeah, I know you actually might be right, Pat. But even though, like, I don't know if the players like him or whatever. Anyway, play for yourselves. If the Chargers just have a semi-decent game plan today and find ways to get off the field on third and 18 and beat them, they will find a way to close this week. Herbert will be a lot better. They're going to turn field goals into touchdowns against that defense. I like the Chargers. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Obviously, many people will take Minnesota this week. I'm not going to. I'm taking the Chargers. Sticking to it.
In the grand scheme of things, the game actually means far more to the Chargers than it does to the Vikings, because with the Lions having lost last week, they could lose again this week. Green Bay looks okay, better than like last place that they were predicted to be before the season started. And the Bears look like they might be the worst team in football. That if you start 0-3, you could still kind of win this division.
What's the line value, Rob? Because I saw the Chargers favored by 1.5, and then it went to Minnesota 1.5. It's been like a 2.5, 3-point swing.
Yeah, but it's through what are called like
I know
dead numbers, right? Like zero doesn't really matter. So it's not a big move. There's definitely like the early sharp money is on the Vikings. I don't honestly look or care about that stuff. I'm with you, Cam. Like, I lean Chargers in this game. I think the Chargers should be favored on the road. The thing with the Chargers is like they actually have really good defensive personnel. But they fucking can't stop anybody.
I know.
Like, it doesn't make
you.
Last year they finished 5th in the league in EPA on defense. That was with guys missing time over the course of the year, and now they can't stop anyone all of a sudden. I think they're way more likely though to get it corrected than Minnesota. You look at Minnesota this year. The Vikings have blitzed. They have Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator now. They've blitzed on 49% of dropbacks. Half of the opponent dropbacks they've blitzed, they've generated a pressure on 19%. They have to send pressure to try to get pressure, and they still can't get pressure.
That's bad news against Herbert, too.
Exactly.
That's bad news.
So I don't know. I don't trust either of these teams, but somehow I trust the Chargers more right now than I do the Vikings. I like them better as a team on paper, personnel-wise. I like their offense better. I like their defense better. They don't have the offensive line injuries that the Vikings do. Vikings were their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw. He dressed last week, but he still couldn't play. Their backup left tackle got hurt, out for the season. Their center, Garrett Bradbury, we don't know if he's playing this week. So I don't know. I don't really agree with the early move, other than the Vikings have had extra time to prepare. But I'm with Cam here. I like the Chargers a bit in this game.
Silver selections, Cam. You're up first.
Do I have to go?
You don't have to. You don't have to go. I'm between a few games that we can kind of talk out for my silver and bronze if you'd like.
Pat, I'm thinking about taking the Bears again.
The Bears were one of the teams that I like too. Like, why do we think that Kansas City's going to win by 20 points in this game when they can't achieve first downs?
All I know is this team has like broken my heart, my wallet, my nickname. Sometimes they call me Oso Grande, Big Bear. You know what I mean? When I go to Mexico and stuff. But watching Justin Fields throw pick sixes, it's tough. But guys, this is a hell of a lot of points. 12.5, 13 points for the Bears. Like, are you kidding me? Like, can't we just find a way to like run the ball and keep the sticks moving? Kansas City's been notorious for not covering as double-digit favorites in this game. Rob, I know I'm going to get it from everybody. Like, oh, the Bears. It's almost like now I can't get off it. Like I'm that guy. I'm addicted, and if I get off it, like, you know what I mean? I'm still not going to get clean. I might as well still like do what I do. I'm not ready for rehab yet. I'm getting real close, but I'm going to tell you, the Bears, one more time. Can we do this thing getting multiple points? Kansas City might win this game by 21, 24, but I have a feeling it's more of a Kansas City 7 to 10 point win with the option of a Bears backdoor cover. I will take the Chicago Bears 12.5, plug my nose, probably puke, have another drink, and hopefully they cover this week. Rob, I can't say no to these points. Give me the damn Bears. Play like real bears, not teddy bears that you cuddle with at night. I need a bear. I need to see some claws. No paws this week. Claws.
I will.
Cam
I will double down with you, Cam. I'll make the Bears my silver pick too.
Yes, Patrick. Let's go. You know how many emails we're going to get? You guys are so stupid. You're insane. You're a bunch of fucking morons. You know, bring it on. I agree.
Listen,
I'm not getting off it.
The point spread is the great equalizer. Like everyone knows Kansas City's better than Chicago. It's whether or not they're going to win by 13 or more. Here's the thing with the Bears. If this was last year, I would have been right on board with you guys because the Bears defense is trash. We know the team is trash, but last year they could move the ball better offensively. They have 2 designed runs for Justin Fields this year. 2 for him. I don't know what they have done. Their offensive coordinator there is an absolute goof. He's turned, what's his name? I always forget his name. Luke Getsy. He's turned Justin Fields into a pocket passer. Like, what are you doing? Just use his legs. Like, if it breaks down, let the guy run. And until that happens, the Bears they're X'd off my list, untouchable. If that happens again, I'll start liking the Bears in these underdog roles because they can actually score if they just let Fields do what he's good at.
What he did too, Rob?
Being a running back.
Versus Tampa Bay, they ran the same screen 3 times. The guy's like, thank you. Like you didn't have a different play call. They interviewed Tampa Bay afterwards. They go, we knew what was coming. Like Eberflus the next coordinator. Like I thought we were upgrading from Nagy and his stooge gang. Like you're right, it's worse. Like let this guy run. He should be running for 100 yards every game. Like that guy in the open field is untouchable. He's like a track star. Just let him go.
Exactly.
And honestly, like maybe this week they just say, you know what, we're so bad, screw it. If anything breaks down, you just go bananas and go do your thing. And maybe we'll cover this week, but it's too many points for me.
It just seems like too many points. That's the entire stance. And you kind of mentioned the backdoor cover. The one decent thing about the Bears, they still have beyond Fields with DJ Moore and even Chase Claypool if you just want to bomb it down the field. But it looks like Mooney might end up.
Chase Claypool's unreal.
Yeah,
when he first came into the league, this guy was one of the best players at Notre Dame. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what he would listen to or how he changed. He just dropped so many balls. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. The guy could be really good too. Like, look at the size of him. He could be a monster in this league.
But they have 3 guys that can kind of get away from defenses, and that's perfect for garbage time. Just scoring hey, here's a cheap 80-yard touchdown to cover the spread. No big deal. We were down 20. Now I will go for the 2. We're down by 12. We cover the spread. Easy game. At least that's how I'm choosing to see it. And I think that Kansas City is going to be fine at some point this season offensively. Their defenses look really good through 2 games, Rob, but they're just not on the same page offensively.
Yeah, right now it's challenging to maybe they just flip a switch. Listen, it's a very different defense they're facing in the Bears this week, which is basically a non-existent defense.
Wait, is the Jags are the Jags a good defense?
But the Jags get pressure, or at least in the first couple games of the year they have. I'm not sold on the Jags being a good defense at all. Period. I don't think that they have a good one, but they at least get some pressure on the quarterback. I don't know. I mean, they've played the Jags and Lions. It's 2 teams they should have moved the ball on much better than they did overall. They still do have the best quarterback on the planet, though. And I'm inclined to believe they'll get it together at some point. But you guys are right. I mean, the Chiefs, this is kind of like the spot where they've notoriously stunk it up. Big favorite, don't win by margin a whole lot, play closer games against inferior teams. I can understand. I understand the logic. To me, the Bears are just a blacklisted team.
No, I understand. That's the thing. If they find a way to lose this game by 20 or something more, Pat, and they throw a couple pick sixes, I don't know what we're going to do. We either fade them or get off them. But they were actually down 3 going in to maybe win that game against Tampa Bay. For people that don't understand, and they just continue to screw it up with horrible play calling, as Rob mentioned. But just let Fields be. Let him, you know what I mean? He's not an accurate passer. He's a great athlete and runner. Let him play free. Now he's all tense. I worry because it's on the road, but it's so many damn points, man. I was hoping we'd get over 2 touchdowns and people because they hate the Bears so much. But 12.5 is still good enough for us, Pat. We got to hope for the best here, but I think they can cover.
Tampa Bay is the one shining spot in our win totals draft for me.
Tampa Bay looks good.
They do look good. Tampa Bay, for a team that was bottom 5 projected win total at the beginning of the year, their defense is clearly pretty solid. If Baker just doesn't make the big mistakes, they're going to be fine. When I say fine, probably a 500 team, but that could win the division. Who knows?
I mean, my bank account really needs Tampa Bay to win this division. That would be very nice. I believe that was my bronze pick on our future shows. Tampa Bay division winner, 10-1.
Yep.
So
good pick.
Fingers crossed. Maybe they can beat the Eagles this week.
Everybody looks bad in that division, so it can't happen. Gotta love Mike Evans too. Like, not only is he a great player, that nobody masters the art of offensive pass interference better than Mike Evans. Like, he has tricks so many. Like, he gets so close to the guy, tangles up his hands, like refs can't see it. He's an absolute magician out there. Like, watch this guy. He's the king. He's really good.
Two guys, Mike Evans and DeAndre Hopkins, forever were the guys that were the OPI kings that just found a way to get away with that. That ball downfield there last week, I don't even know how that wasn't called. It seems so obvious.
It was so offensive pass. Like, Rob, I was watching going, I'm on the Bears. I was flipping out. And like, it's like, oh, don't worry. It's just Mike Evans. He's okay.
This is what he does. It's part of the game. Yeah. It's part of his tool.
Part of the game, man. He won the battle. It's like, what does defensive guy do other than like kill him on the field? You know what I mean? Like, I'd whip out a switchblade. Like, you have no chance. Like, the referees just, give it to Mike. Yeah. Good old Mike. He'll catch it.
Got to be like Aqib Talib back in the day. Throw to the guy to the ground, rip off his necklace.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it was someone on the Titans.
Talib was an animal too.
Talib was an animal, but someone on the Titans lost their mind on one of the receivers one game. Just completely lost it. That's what you got to do. Send a message early in the game. Get yourself booted, though.
Yep.
Rob, you have a silver pick to give us?
I'd rather not give this one. If I'm being honest.
Look at me and Pat. We gave you the Bears, so you're going to have to go.
Oh, let's see here. Let's see if I can guess. What's the shittiest thing on the board?
I know what it is. Denver.
Cam nailed it already.
First guess. I'm good at this game. Yeah. I wish this was the game instead of making picks I'd win.
So I faded the Broncos for the first 2 weeks, and I won those. And I think those are going to be great spots to fade the Broncos all year. They have to win by margin. Sure, sign me up with the other team every single time. But this is a different spot now. And listen, I'm high on Miami. I love Miami, but you got the Jalen Waddle concussion. That really hurts their receiving core in this game because the Broncos have one good corner in Patrick Surtain that they'll line up on Tyreek Hill. The rest of the Dolphins receivers, not great. There's a substantial downgrade if Waddle can't play in this game. But ultimately, what this comes down to is Denver's offense is, I don't want to call it good, but it's like low-key not bad from a statistical perspective. They have the most points per possession of any team in the league. The offense was a lot better with Jerry Jeudy last week. And when you put me in a situation where Denver no longer has to win, they just have to not get blown out in the game, I like them a whole lot more in this type of spot going out on the road because I like their ability to score. Dolphins defense, very similar to what I mentioned with the Vikings. They send a lot of blitzes, 35% blitzes this year, but they barely get home. They only get home like 16% of the time. So they need to blitz to generate pressure. Russell Wilson gets the ball out of his hands very quickly. And I think they're going to have a lot of matchups on the outside where these guys can win one-on-one. So I just think this is too many points. I love Miami. I love their prospects this year. Big fan of the team altogether. Big fan of the good-looking coach as well. But Denver +6, I think, is too many points.
Imagine not thinking that River Craycraft is as good as Jalen Waddle.
Like River Craycraft.
River Craycraft. Don't they have? It's Braxton Berrios, right? That they have there as well. He's been a journeyman for a bit.
Craycraft, man, he was good. Washington State Cougar, love that guy. You know what Craycraft does though? He catches the ball when it's thrown to him. You could say that about him. His hands are pretty good.
The Chiefs should pick him up.
It's actually a good point.
Yeah, Chiefs could use a few of those guys.
Can you believe, Rob? I knew you were going to pick Denver. I know the way your mind, you know the way, like literally you could probably knock like 5 or 6 of my picks and I can like kind of get yours. I knew you were going to take Carolina too. I like Carolina. I was actually looking at Denver too because I think that it's one of those weeks where they're going to show up eventually. Might be too much. And look at the line. It's like it's not going in Miami's favor. It's betting down. Like it's just begging you to take the Dolphins in this spot, which could be very dangerous.
Yeah,
listen, there's a lot of close games in the NFL. Like teams don't win by margin a lot. It doesn't happen a lot. If you look at like I'm not a trends guy, but over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen, if you just blindly bet underdogs, you would have come out on top a lot. And this never happened at any point in NFL history before. And part of it is just there's so many close games now. The games are just naturally closer. And there's not that much of a separation between the top end teams and even like the mid tier anymore. So listen, I could easily be wrong. Miami is very competent. They could win this game by 40 points. But I don't know, we're betting, probability edges here. And I don't think I think his number should be short of 6.
In the Russell Wilson era, the Broncos are 4-0 against the spread, Cam, when they're getting more than a field goal in a game.
Really? Oh, wow. Rob's case solidified.
Now, I have no idea who those games were against, who they were more than a field goal underdogs too.
Doesn't really matter.
I assume the
NFL,
Chiefs.
It doesn't matter.
Chiefs
and Chargers.
Yeah.
Probably Chiefs and Chargers. Yeah. They play them in the division. Raiders.
Bronze. Let's get to the bronze picks. I want to ask you about the Raiders for a second. I picked the Raiders on the spread show. It's down to -3 right now.
Kind of like the Raiders.
So do I.
I don't trust Pittsburgh.
So is it one of these things where everyone is thinking exactly the same thing? Because Pittsburgh +3 seems like a very obvious pick, and then everyone's just going to bet the Raiders -3 by the time Sunday night comes around, aren't they?
Well, you got a couple things going on. You had like the Jacoby Myers injury, whether or not he's back.
He'll be back.
Devontae Adams banged up as well. Here's the thing for me, like Steelers. So typically, whenever you get these misleading box score games, the line moves against or for the team that had like the misleading. So Steelers, Browns, very misleading box score, right? In the sense that the Steelers score 2 defensive touchdowns. They had negative yards in the fourth quarter and had a come from behind victory. So naturally, people want to fade that team. And that's totally understandable. Same thing happened last week where a lot of money came in on Chicago against Tampa Bay. Because if you look at Tampa Bay in week 1, they had a very misleading box score against Minnesota. They should have got blown out. They ended up winning the game. People are like, I'm going to fade this team. But I don't really buy into that. The thing with Pittsburgh is that they faced 2 solid defenses. So like Kenny Pickett might stink. It's very possible. It's within the range of possibilities that he's just a bad quarterback and he's looked bad because he's bad. But then there's the contrarian that says he's faced San Francisco, he's faced Cleveland. Guess what? Now he faces the Raiders, who have no defense. And I'm still optimistic that the Steelers offense can get it together against bad defenses. So if it got to 3, like if the line is 3, I'll take Pittsburgh. I will like openly bet Pittsburgh because then you need the Raiders to win by 4. But maybe like it's your opinion on Pickett. And for me, like I'm not going to write him off after the 2 games against what I think are going to be like 2 of the best 5 defenses in the league.
Well, the Raiders basically had a bye week last week after their first drive, so they're well rested.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That was a destruction. But yeah, that's the Bill. I mean, remember when everyone's like, "Oh, the Bills cannot week 1. The Bills cannot win a Super Bowl with this guy, Josh Allen, turnover machine, whatever." How quickly that's been quieted down after 1 game. Like it took 1 game for the perspective on that team to completely change back to what it was preseason. And that's the NFL, right? It's like week to week reactions. Pittsburgh looks terrible in prime time, even though they win. People want to fade them. I don't know that they're like, remember where you thought these teams were heading into the year, right? Like even just win totals and how far we've come in 2 weeks now. That's the only thing that I'll say about that. Like there's been a big market correction on these teams.
Has been. Short week for Pittsburgh, though.
Yes, that all plays into it for sure. And like you said, the Raiders basically played a bye.
That's true. Although the one thing that wasn't talked about enough in the preseason in terms of Pittsburgh and in terms of Pickett, because how good they looked in the preseason when like no one's blitzing at you, their offensive line is horrible. Like it remains horrible. Like it didn't get better like people, I guess, assumed it did.
Yep. And the worst pressure rate team in the league right now, defensively, is the Raiders. Again, this is just like a styles make fights type of thing, right? You put the 49ers D-line up against that O-line, disaster. You put the Browns D-line up against the Pittsburgh O-line, disaster. Now you get a reprieve, essentially. They have Max Crosby. That's it. It basically, with Chandler Jones out for personal reasons, it's like, all right, let's just chip Max Crosby on every play. And guess what? Nobody can get pressure for the Raiders. So it's a different situation is all I'm getting at. I don't mean to, like, it's the NFL. Like, I don't want to be so definitive on something. The Raiders could win this game by 24. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, it's the NFL. But I think that Pittsburgh is undervalued because of who they've played so far.
All right. It's not my pick. I just wanted to get your guys' take on that game.
No, it's tough.
The other one, the other one I wanted to get from you, Cam.
Too.
Yeah, from you, Cam. Mm-hmm. The Saints 2.5 at Green Bay seems kind of nice. Saints is an underdog. Seems like a good spot.
This game feels like the rope of the year, like the last who's coming in and with Green Bay and like this, I don't know, like the Saints have looked awful. Green Bay's been pretty respectable. It's a weird line. I don't know what to think of this game. To be honest with you, I bet every game. I'll probably take the dog and tease it. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. What do you guys think? I just think it feels like a fish line. Like I think a lot of people are going to bet Green Bay, and I don't know. Like I really don't know what's going to happen in this game. But maybe the problem with the Saints is their offensive line reeks and Carr holds onto the ball too much. It'll be a lot better when Kamara comes back, as we've talked about. So, and Love's been all right for Green Bay. It was a crazy game against Atlanta, but I kind of lean Saints, but I don't really like it at all. But I think it's going to be probably a field goal game. 4-point game.
Yes, yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be a field goal game, and then it just naturally gravitates me towards the points. Like even as we've been talking, it's already gone up from 2 to 2.5. If this got to 3 because people love the Packers this week, I'm not going to be super stunned. But they played the Bears and they played the Falcons. Like, what do you make of the Falcons' defense, Rob? That it's better than it was a year ago. I don't know if it's good.
It's average. I think it's an average defense. They added some pass rushers in the offseason. Into their front seven. They were dead last in pressure last year and the year before. So that's going to help them a little bit. They do have AJ Terrell. Like they have talent on defense. I just think it's like an average defense altogether. The thing for me is that with the Packers, though, is that's not like a fair assessment of them because they're without Christian Watson and Aaron Jones last week as well. So if those guys play and we get the Packers offense as it's like meant to be, then I like the Packers. But if not, I actually love what Cam said there. It's a game with a low total. You have an underdog that's 2. You can tease them up through 3, through 7, up to 8. There's lots of teams you can pair them with possibly this week. I don't see this as a game where one team blows out the other too often. So I like the Saints as a teaser play this week, regardless of who's returning, who's in for the Packers. I think that's probably the way to play it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, my bronze pick is going to be Dallas minus 12 against Arizona because I think they're going to beat them by 40 points.
Dallas is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I don't have anything to say to oppose that right now. I don't see the path to like Josh Dobbs has actually looked fine.
Yeah.
Like in the system for at times, but it's just a different. It's one thing to look fine against the Giants defense because they can't stop the run, they can't pressure the quarterback. Their secondary sucks. Basically, the whole defense sucks. So that's one thing. This is a different breed and a different animal this week. So I won't argue against it. I think there's a lot of scenarios here where Dallas just walks away with this game.
So what was the stat that I had for Dallas here? Cam, since 2021, Dallas 9-3 against the spread as a road favorite. And what is the other part of this? Oh, they've covered by an average of 6 points.
Yeah, here's the thing, too. Arizona, let's call it for what it is. That was a great start against the Giants, and then reality hit in, and they fell apart. Like, it was just an absolute collapse job. If Dallas comes out and actually cares about this game could be over, like, in the second quarter, right? They could be up, like, 28-0, and maybe Arizona will pack it in. And the problem with that is when you force the issue against Dallas, there's going to be pick 6 and turnovers there. So, for me, it's Dallas or nothing. I don't like to lay that kind of points, but if Dallas loses this game, I would say some people are going to be jumping off bridges and buildings. It's probably going to be in every, teaser, money line parlay, whatever you can do with it. Like if people want to add to, you're not really going to get a value, but you know what I'm saying though, Rob, right? Like I don't see how people are going to be on Arizona unless you take excessive points in this game.
I don't understand why anyone would put Dallas in a money line parlay at minus 600.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't add enough
what does that
to
do
it
for your parlay?
I guess when you're building like a super parlay, it can, but there has to be many more steps. That's the point.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're probably pretty anti money line parlay to begin with, Rob, unless it's 2 teams, close spread, you're getting plus money, whatever it might be. But a minus 600, like we always talk about this with Cody in UFC. He's like, yeah, throw the minus 1,000 in there. It's like, do you need to? What's this doing for you?
For me, it's just a matter, I'm not anti parlay. I think just most recreational bettors who parlay, you're just making it, you're already coin flipping as a rec bettor. You don't really have an edge. And now you're making it so much worse for yourself by needing multiple outcomes to win. Like there's a reason that parlays hold like 3 times the amount of straight bets for sports books. And that's because, the average person betting a parlay doesn't have an edge and they just keep, compounding.
Rob, parlays are scary for the books. Like remember when we were working at the Score 20 years ago with Garner, he used to put those crazy money line parlays together. You hit one of them, like he's bankrolled. And he used to hit them a lot. Like
I hit a 252-1 parlay at DraftKings this week.
Unbelievable.
On Commanders and Giants live money lines at the end of the first half, close to the end of the first half in those games. Washington was losing 21-3 to Denver, and the Giants were getting shut out. I think it was 20-0, 21-0. It was 250.
Big free loan.
But I'll tell you this: the sportsbooks aren't care to the parlay. They don't care. They want you to bet parlays. This is why it's advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
And like to Pat's point, like the money line parlays, if I have an edge, I don't have mind putting stuff into money line parlays. Like if I think a team that's minus 200 should be minus 250, I'll bet them at minus 200 and throw them in a parlay. It's just a matter of value for me at the end of the day.
So Dallas will be my selection. Cam, where are you going with your bronze pick?
Okay, I'll ask for the round table again because I can't narrow down. I want to take 6 picks every week. I almost want to do like a 6-pack of beer instead of 3. I'd like to double it. Here are things that I'm looking at. Bills minus 6.5. Jets plus 3. Lions, like I don't like the bronze pick. Oh, Lions, I think the Lions might bounce back and kill Atlanta. Anything else you guys like? Rob took Denver, looked interesting. Rob's got them. Carolina, I like. You already picked them. What else? That's about it. What do you guys think?
I like the Lions at minus 3.5, and I like the Jets at plus 3.
What do you like, Rob?
My bronze pick is going to be a total, so that tells you how much I like the games this week. I don't love any of these. The Jet, like, imagine sitting back and just like cracking a beer 1:00 on Sunday and realizing you got money on Zach Wilson.
No,
like,
I understand that.
I get it.
Yeah,
but that's just not how I want to live life, basically.
No, hey, well, I'm living life with the Chargers and Bears. Like if I'm taking the Jets, that means I'm on suicide watch and I should have somebody watching me like at my house so I don't do something. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's crazy. You're right. I can't take the 3 most unreliable things. What about everyone's on Washington? Like they're feeling good about the Commanders. Are the Bills going to go in there and just kick the living shit out of these guys? Like, they're a much better team.
I think so. The problem is this game feels like an under to me because I think the Commanders offense doesn't show up. Like if we talked about teams going into the year and depending on how you think about Denver, that maybe Denver was hilariously overrated coming into the year based on their win total and they just might be bad, that the Commanders have beat 2 of the 5 worst teams in football?
Yep.
Between Bills, Lions, and Jets, and I'm going to take Lions. I'm just going to take the team that played brutal last week. Seattle beat them. I think Campbell, we talked about, he made some guy's weird, man. The guy's really aggressive sometimes, and he's ultra unaggressive. It's just, I don't know what he's doing. He's like that guy at the blackjack table we talk about that has no idea what he's doing. But I really don't care. I think Atlanta's being overvalued because of the teams that they played. The Lions can run the ball on these guys. I think they could set it up. I think people are very high on the Falcons. Hey, I know they have weapons, but the line was 3. It's 3.5. I think the Lions can win this game by 4. I hope I don't regret it because if the Bills murder Washington and the Jets cover, I'll be upset. But anyway, it's the Lions for me, guys. Let's restore the roar. Sans the balaclavas this week. Let's get a win by 4 or more.
Okay. I kind of like the Lions. I mean, they have a lot of injuries, and that I think that's playing into it. But the Lions score at home all the time. Like they.
What do you think about Atlanta, Rob? That's my point. Like they're getting better, but. Well, what Detroit at home coming off a loss, they should be able to win this game by a touchdown or more, in my opinion.
What happens in this game if Atlanta goes down double digits?
That's exactly
and
where I
they
was
have to
going to go
have
with
Desmond
this.
Ridder throw the ball.
That's
like
the thing.
He's a disaster. Like, okay, they can run the ball. Bijan Robinson, by the way, the guy is unreal. Like he's making guys miss tackles in open field, whatever. Maybe there's a game state where they get out ahead and they just keep running it. But Detroit scores at home all the time. They just go look under Jared Goff and Dan Campbell and what they've done at home. They always put up points. And especially against like mediocre defenses, I think Detroit's going to score. I think there's a lot of game states here where Atlanta now has to throw the ball. And I don't think that's going to be a recipe for success for the Falcons. So I lean Detroit in this game as well.
Yeah, and you talk about Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, but really, Cam, it's really due to the roided out sprinter offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson.
I cheat all the time.
It
really bothered me, actually. I did, like a Canadian like icon, Rob, and you're making him do like energy drink commercials for like a couple grand. It's just, to me, that's just so wrong and disgusting. And I think everybody was doing drugs. But anyway, I met Ben Johnson. He was very nice to me, and I will defend him till the day I die.
He was the principal. He was the principal at my brother's school growing up.
He seems like a really good man.
Yeah.
That got screwed up.
Yeah, Ben Johnson was the principal for at my brother's school, San Marco. It was.
No, the principal at my buddy's school, Rob, Harry Dick. No bullshit. That was his name, Harry Dick. Wow, don't find that every day.
No, that's like one of those prank calls.
No, I mean like it's like Mo's. I'm looking for a. No, like the guy's name was Harry Dick. I'm like, you got to be. Yeah, and I didn't believe my buddy, so I went into his like middle school. I'm like, yep, there he is, Harry Dick. Wow.
You have a total here, Rob?
Yeah. Give me a total, Rob. What are you up to? 12 bowls a total, better than one of Fiber Plus.
I do have
bowls.
a total. So
Yeah.
one thing to be just aware of for people out there is that it's probably going to rain in a lot of games on the East Coast this week. So just if you're looking at anything on the East Coast, they're calling for rain in a lot of these games. They're not calling for rain in Jacksonville, though. Jacksonville, Houston, the total is 43.5. I like the over in this game. Everyone's talking about the Jags offense. Oh, it's a big struggle, this and that. Chiefs defense happens to be very good and was very good against them last week. I think this is like the ultimate get right game for the Jacksonville offense. For one, Houston could not, they made Zach Moss look like the second coming of Barry Sanders last week. They could not tackle that guy. On top of that, they have injuries in the secondary with their two starting safeties, both banged up. I think Jacksonville's going to score in this game. And what we saw with Houston last week against the Colts is when they do get into a game state where they're trailing, they will move the ball faster. They do throw the ball downfield. It's not like this is like a incompetent offense altogether. When they're losing, they can still score points with CJ Stroud, who looks like actually not bad, not great either. But I think this is a pretty low total for a Jacksonville game. When I think of Jacksonville this year, they're typically a team that I thought going into the year I was going to want to bet a lot of overs on. And because of the first two games that we saw them play this year, or at least last week's game against Kansas City, the market has kind of corrected on this total. I like over 43.5 Jags and Texans.
Okay. Well, there is one more thing that I want to add to the show for this week. And maybe we can make this a running thing. Let's make a group teaser. A 3-leg teaser. We can do 6 points in this one because we have the Saints as one leg. What are other ones to put on it? I want to put the Jets +9 on this.
I could see that.
I agree.
I think the Jets win anyway, but
You could bring the Bills down to a pick 'em.
I would bring
Saints
the
nine.
Ravens down to -1.5.
Yeah, Ravens down to 1, or depending on you want to do 6.5, whatever, 6. Ravens down. Bills pick 'em. Saints 9. Jets, I agree, Pat, 10.
you're
What
not.
else would you
We'll do a 6-point teaser. We'll do the.
I'm sorry. I've
We'll do the Ravens down.
Got a
we'll do-
doctor's appointment. Sorry.
Do New Orleans up, and we need one more here.
Do we think Joe Burrow is playing?
No,
Because if he's not,
the line tells you no.
the Rams to 8.5 against Jake Browning would seem like a pretty damn good teaser bet, in my opinion.
I agree with you, Rob.
Yeah, up to 8.5.
Yep.
There we go. 6-point teaser pays +190 or 160 is what we'll go. We'll go New Orleans 8.5, Rams 8.5, and Baltimore -1.5.
Love it.
I might have just caught a break with the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young's not practicing with an ankle injury. You guys aware of who the backup is?
Andy Dalton.
The Red Rocket, Andy
boy.
Dalton.
So
Upgrade
good.
the Panthers, baby.
I don't know,
Upgrade.
man. Ginger, Robbie. Like me, are you haunting me this year with the picks? Maybe Big Ginger's got something up his sleeve against Seattle. Who knows?
Oh, man, I can't wait to see Andy Dalton, a backup quarterback that Cam Stewart doesn't like. Unbelievable, people.
No,
We found the backup.
Andy Dalton's like he's still in the league. Anyway, by the way, my backup quarterback argument. I know everyone came at me. Everybody, how's Gardner Minshew as a backup quarterback? Is he that bad? Anyway, we're not going to get into this. I had way too much hate and spit and venom on Twitter. I don't have time for this. Some backups are serviceable. Andy Dalton is still in the league, so people give him some credit for that. It's hard to be an NFL quarterback. The guy's freaking like almost 50 years old. Cut him some slack.
How old do you think Andy Dalton actually is?
Actually, not that old, but he's been in the league a million years. I think he's probably around 36, 37.
I gotta say he's younger than that. Maybe you're right though.
I'm 36, and Dalton's probably my age.
He's
is
30
what I would guess.
he's
I off the top of my head, 36, 37.
He's 35. He's turning 36 next month.
There you go. So he's 36. Excellent.
He's a 1987 Andy Dalton.
Yeah, but how like in NFL years, that's like 70. That means he's a geriatric.
Same age as Cust, Andy Dalton.
Wears diapers basically during the games at this point.
I could tell you Andy Dalton's more functional on electronics as well, and he's been beaten up more than Cust. And he doesn't fry pizzas in air fryers. Remember, thin crust, everybody, doesn't work. Got to be thick. Told you that. No thin wafers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That will do it. on the Pat Mayo Experience. Reminder again to play in the Listeners League. Additionally, down in the description right now, you can play in the free League Safe Pick'em game. There are 2 Pat Mayo Experience questions as a part of the 10 this week. It's a free game to play. It's $400 to the winner, $1,000 in the prize pool. Just download the League Safe app and go play that right now. It's free. You might as well do it. It takes less than 30 seconds. Could be easy money for you. Cam Stewart at Cam Stewart Live on Twitter if you want to rag on him about backup quarterbacks. And he's on air 14 hours a day at Sports Grid.
Actually, not as much anymore. I'm working the night shift now. It's kind of nice. Get my days a little bit better. I am doing a lot of stuff, though, during football season, Patrick. As you know, it's a very, very busy time. And Ryder Cup's right around the corner, too. So more fun. So a good time of the year. And then we got hockey starting up in under a month. Rob will be all over that. And basketball, too. Soon, college sports. Soon we're going to have a full basket of sports. So enjoy it right now, everybody. It's going to get nuts.
Rob Pizzola, the Hammer.bet, the Forward Progress YouTube channel where you can check them out. The watch-alongs seem like they're... Listen, if the game is shitty, it's probably better to go to the watch-along.
Yeah, the watch-alongs are great. We do some stuff there. We do some... when the games are shit, we do some trivia. People give me some requests on the guitar and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a good time. I mean, Jeff Feinberg joins us for most of the watch-alongs as well, and he's pretty sauced when he gets in there, which makes it even better. And he's like, Rob, I'm not going to bring up the Chargers this week. I'm not going to talk about within 2 minutes of every time he comes on, he's talking about the Chargers for the next 10 minutes. And he's just aggravated the whole time. It's actually very quality viewing. So you could check that out Monday and Thursday
I'd
nights.
like to come on, Rob, but Sunday's kind of like my only day, I'm watching football by myself and, Lou watching golf and flipping out and doing that stuff. But yeah, one day, maybe if I get too drunk, just give me a link and we'll see how it goes. So,
well, I mean, if that's the case, you can do back-to-back duty because you can do the watch along on Sunday nights on the Forward Progress channel from 7:15 Eastern up until kickoff for Sunday Night Football. The Pat Mayo Experience is live. Me, Cust, and a guest every single week recapping the games. Looking forward to week 3 or the following week's spreads, and making stuff in an air fryer, and that's what we're doing. So sub to Mayo Media Network, tune in live on Sunday nights, and go over to the Forward Progress channel, sub there, and then just enjoy the watch along. I like that Jeff has time for you to come on Sunday nights. He can never come on our show.
Never.
It's mostly the Monday and Thursdays that I get him. We never get him on Sundays. Sundays, I think he's in especially if the Chargers lose, I think he's in just a general state where you don't go near him. But you give him like a day or 3 days to recover from that, then it's a little bit easier. So Monday and Thursday night, he's almost always around.
Well, we might actually be stepping on your corner. I think it's week 9 that I think we are going to do a live watch along on Mayo Media Network for Jets Chargers. So that should be fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'll be amazing.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Friendship's lost.
Just sadness.
I think they're already lost, but it's okay. It'll be a good night.
That game will end in a 6-6 tie.
Oh God.
How many ties will there be this year, you think? 2?
1, probably. Who doesn't know what quarterback doesn't know the tie rules? I guess we have to go figure out. That should be a question that they ask quarterbacks every week at a press conference. Like, do you know the overtime rules of football?
Donovan McNabb had no idea. I'll never forget that. Just absolutely clueless.
He also puked on the final drive of the Super Bowl.
Well, when you eat that much chunky soup, it's going to be tough to play football. His mom's just always making it for him.
A lot of sodium. Yep.
Lots of sodium.
I know it's a discussion for another day, but he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, McNabb was a great quarterback. I agree. I think he's very good. Hall of Fame, borderline. It's tough. Anyway,
they're going to put fucking Phillip Rivers in the Hall of Fame. McNabb deserves to be in.
No, they won't. They won't put Rivers in. They'll put Eli Manning in because of his 2 rings.
Well,
Don't even get me.
I mean, that's fair.
McNabb,
that's fair. You win 2
Rivers,
Super Bowls as a quarterback,
better.
you're probably going in if you're like semi-good.
His defense won 2 Super Bowls.
Whatever.
I agree, Rob.
He was the
I'm with
quarterback.
Rob on this one. I think Rivers is better than Manning.
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Like, where are we to put in Trent Dilfer on the quarterback rankings? He stunk. His defense won him a Super Bowl
because
too.
Eli Manning was better than Trent Dilfer. That's why.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, there's no debate.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but was Eli
Rivers is better than them both.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting
bottom
at.
line.
Rivers and McNabb are both better than Eli Manning.
Oh, it's not even debatable, I don't think.
Eli Manning was never in his career like a top 10 quarterback, and he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Like, no season that he played was he considered a top 10 quarterback back in the league.
He won big games. His defense showed up. That's important, but I still think Rivers is better.
Then we'll do it.
I agree.
on the Pat Mayo Experience. Best bets for week 3. I shall return Friday morning with Tambo in the studio to break down the entire DraftKings slate. You can also check out Tambo and the Ship It Nation crew live on Thursday afternoon before the game, going down all of the bets, the showdown for DraftKings for Thursday Night Football on Mayo Media Network. They were going to be live Monday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and Sunday mornings now. So if you head on over to shipitnation.com, use code Mayo and get yourself some money off over there if you're looking for more DFS info. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!